Hello, this is the My Artifact episode number 4031. Today's date is 2nd of May 2026. It's been almost like morning at 8:06 a.m. 8:06 a.m. Alright, let's just jump into the question. Alright, yeah, question is how will you support the silent user? Okay. Okay, first of all, what exactly silent user? What exactly is this question? Why am I asking this question to myself? I wanted to build an app called My Artifact. What exactly is this app? Like when you wrote the diary, uh, there is a lot of constraint while writing a diary, while writing a journal. The reason is that the way that you think, you can't write the way that you can't write the way that you think. Basically the way that you think is much more faster than way that you write. Okay, yeah. Constraint number one. Constraint number two is that spelling mistake, the handwriting. Okay, yeah. The holding a pen, book. There is a lot of things are actually involved to not to kind of like a simply express our thought that much properly. Okay, uh, when you're sharing a thoughts, it's really essential that it should supposed to be effortless, and journaling is very much effort really required to kind of like execute the like print out our thought process things and that. So I thought that key, what if instead of writing your diary, what if you record your diary, like audio record? Okay, like audio record diary, like whatever you kind of like say, instead of write you just kind of like a record, audio record. I called them as a artifact. Okay, yeah. The stuff that you are kind of like listening right now is My Artifact episode number 4031. I am doing this thing for almost like 11 year, and every single day. And because of this artifact, by the way, writing a diary and recording artifact both are self-reflection process. Okay, yeah. And because of this thing, because of I'm doing this thing for almost like that much amount of time, it add so much amount of value in me. It's like I can't explain that how much it add value. The whatever the value that I have today, whatever the person that I am today and whatever the person that I will become in the future, it is all because of the artifact. Artifact that will shape my life towards somewhat something, the future that I wanted to. Okay, because of this artifact, it adds so much amount of value. I realized that okay, what if I could share this technicality to the people so that they would supposed to be get the value. Okay, yeah. So that's some kind of like a started building my application, My Artifact. Well, this kind of like a thing, this platform, this application is kind of like a something like a YouTube. In the YouTube platform, you could kind of like a simply record your video and upload your video, and other people sees your video. Same thing happened in the artifact too. You kind of like a record your artifact, other people could kind of like a listen the artifact. The one catch is that I am providing the privacy, means like that user will not gonna know who you are. Okay, yeah. Privacy is very much essential to kind of like somebody understand yourself. But I was actually thinking that now instead of giving the privacy to the user, I have to give the privacy to the artifact. But there is a kind of like a lot of stuff. Okay, yeah. Like a privacy means like there is a multiple steps of privacy. Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing that key first and second layer of the privacy I'm actually giving to the user, but the kind of like a full kind of like a privacy should supposed to be provided to the artifact. There is a lot of things. Okay, I'm kind of like a provide the privacy. Okay, yeah, this is the kind of like a things I wanted to provide the privacy. So this is my application. This is kind of like a simply platform that I wanted to do it. It's a social media platform. Now before I wanted to build this application, right now I'm building this application by the way, but is this thing na ki I wanted to aware of every possible consequences that ki what will gonna happen if I build this application, how, what kind of like a challenges do I face, what kind of like a consequences do I face, and things and that. I wanted to be aware of every possible scenario. So I went to ChatGPT. I kind of like tell everything regarding about my app and things and that and that. And I tell that thing ki suggest me at least like 100 questions, so that I would be kind of like somebody very much aware of that ki what am I building, and is it kind of like somebody add value to the society or not, and things and that and that. ChatGPT kind of like suggests me 100 question, and this is one of those question. By the way, all those questions are actually in the mobile phone, but while recording, I can't do this fiddle and things and that. So that's why I wrote the question in here. This is a question. By the way, this is the new book that I'm reading. Not new book, like I'm reading this book for almost like a month. Like, why are you taking so much time to read that much amount of time to read the book? Well, okay, yeah, like I am not a kind of like a heavy reader. Okay, like some people are very heavy reader, like literally just like some I seen lot of people who could read almost like a 500 pages of book in within a kind of like a somebody week. I am not one of those people. Sorry. Okay, so I am not one of those reader. Oh yeah, basically it's this thing. I wanted to read, but I want to read like as much as less as possible. Means like that ki I just read almost like a 20 minute, that's it. Okay, just 20 minute, probably almost like a 4 or 5 pages, and that's it. If I'm kind of like started reading too much, then I would not consume that much information. By the way, this is a very text heavy book. Okay, there is no image, there is nothing really at all. Yeah, there is some sort of image too, yeah, but the problem is that it's a very heavy loaded book. Okay, yeah, I need to kind of like think and that. So like basically I need to process the information. It's not just kind of like a things that I should supposed to be read this kind of like a 500 pages of book in kind of like a 2-3 days and doesn't know anything at all. I wanted to process the information, I wanted to consume the information and things and that. So 20 minute per day is a kind of like a simply had enough. Okay, and also is this thing now I am kind of like I'm not like I just started reading. Okay, yeah, since the beginning of this year I just started reading. So still I am in that process, but 20 minutes is kind of like a, my sweet spot to kind of like consume my book. All right, so the question is that I forget the question. Okay, so question is that how will you support the silent user? Okay, yeah, so what is exactly the silent user? Silent user means like that such a user who will open my application, they utilize my platform to listen artifact, but they are not a recording artifact. Those are called silent user. Okay, let me tell you one thing, the kind of like a graph regarding about the user and their stages. Okay, so let's just say the user will kind of like known about my application because of something, because of this artifact, because of kind of like a somewhat something, someone kind of like a recommend. So if they install my application, okay, they log in, they didn't really record the artifact, no, they just kind of like a consuming the artifact, they are consuming someone else's artifact. Okay, and this stage is early, almost like a 6-month stage. Okay, they just kind of like a listening and things and that. This is the stage 1. Okay, stage 2 is that key people are kind of like somebody listen and they resonate. Okay, they resonate that key. Okay, I do have a kind of like a same feeling, I do wanted to share that feeling. Because let me tell you one thing now, when we are kind of like going through a lot of trouble in our life and we really wanted to share and things and that, the first base user will not gonna start recording, they just listening. Okay, but second user are kind of like somebody started thinking that key, okay, like basically this I wanted to share my thoughts and things and that. So they are started recording artifact. This is the second layer, they are started recording artifact. Okay, but their artifact is not the way that they are like, they are very awkward, they are not able to be talk that much, and they are really fumble, and they just like this is a kind of like a beginning stage. Okay, they just kind of like this and that. Okay, in this particular situation they tried, they fail, then they try, they fail. Okay, yeah. Like basically this thing what will happen, they kind of like started recording, they record one day, then 2 day they didn't really record, then third day they might start that ki, okay, let's record. Okay, yeah. Like basically this thing, there is a imperfection or inconsistency happen in the second level. They just started recording but not consistency, not because of they don't want to be, but because of that awkwardness. This is very much common when you try to talk with yourself, it's very much awkward. Okay, I also face that thing. So they just kind of like a bit really like inconsistent. Okay, yeah. But they keep doing it, like basically maybe within a month they might gonna record maybe kind of like a 10 artifact or maybe like a less than that, but they just they try to record the artifact. Okay, this is a stage 2. Now stage 3 is kind of like a somebody is this thing, they being consistent. Okay, they being consistent. Okay, right now let me tell you one thing. In the stage 2 they are listening and they are recording. Okay, both at the same time, but they are kind of like a recording less and listening much. Okay, yeah, this is the second stage. Okay, yeah. In the third stage they are recording, they are listening very less. Okay, yeah. They are listening, recording, they are listening someone artifact less, and they are recording artifact much more. Okay, yeah. That is called level 3. In that level 3 they are consistent, they are bitterly comfortable, and they are start talking about something like about their life and things and that. Okay, yeah. Like this is kind of like a thing, they are kind of like a talking about this particular stuff. Okay, this is a kind of like a level 3, they are being consistent, they are kind of like a recording artifact, they are listening artifact but very less, but they are kind of like a recording because they kind of like a feel really good to kind of like a record artifact and things like that. There is a level 3. This is a level 3. Okay, yeah. Now level 4 is a different game. Okay, yeah. In the level 4 what exactly happened, that key you are kind of like a started kind of like a scene changes in your life. Okay, yeah. Like till level 1, level 2, level 3 does not change at all. Level 3 you are kind of like a scene changes in your head, your thought process, and you are started talking with yourself even if there is no recording artifact. Okay, like literally you just talk in your head. Okay, yeah. This is actually happened, like basically is this thing na ki artifact is actually connect with yourself. Okay, yeah. And like it's you actually connect with yourself, like when you record the artifact, when you're recording and when you're being consistent, you are kind of like a connecting with yourself, and when you are connecting with yourself, you are started talking with yourself even if there is no record. Inside your head you are started talking, you are thinking, you are kind of like a things and that. Okay, yeah. And you are kind of like some sort of hallucination, not hallucination, it's not really right word, but kind of like a things that na ki, like basically is this thing, let's just say, okay, you wanted to be a kind of like a something actor. Okay, yeah. And you are kind of like a struggling and things and that. Okay, yeah. You are kind of like a recording artifact consistency, so you are at level 3. Okay, you are at level 3. Now level 4 what is actually happened, I told you level 4 is started implementing, started kind of like a changing your thought process, changing your personality, changing the external changes that you kind of like a seen. What is that changes? You are waking up early morning. Okay, yeah. Because of artifact you are kind of like a talking really good shit and things and that. So you are kind of like a wake up early, you are waking up early and things and that probably. Okay, yeah. There are multiple factors kind of like responsible for that, but you are being really responsible for that key, your goals and things and that, and your action are towards the goal. Okay, yeah. Now your goal is to become actor. So basically is this thing, you are not really hesitate to kind of like somebody go to the audition every single day, do the kind of like a theater every single day, wake up every single day, put the effort and things and that. Even if someone criticizes you, it does not really affect on you, it's kind of like a thing is that na ki you are just being really control. Okay, yeah. Your emotion is actually in control, you express the when you want it to be. Okay, yeah. Okay, it depends on so many factors too. It depends on your kind of like some listening, who you are, how you made of, how you process the information and things and that, how you process the emotions and things and that. But still at the level 4 you are bitterly calm, control, and kind of like a somewhat something that key like a basically just aware of that every situation actually happened. Okay, yeah. Every situation aware of that, and you are kind of like a taking effort for your goals and things like that. This is the level 4. Okay, yeah. And level 5 is right now I'm at. Okay, yeah. So level 5 means like that you arrive at level 5 after you kind of like a recording almost like a decade of recording artifact. Okay, yeah. So in the level 5, what exactly happened? You are changing inside of you, you are implement inside of you. In the level 5, you are talking about such a thing that does not exist in the real world, like recording artifact, like building this application, talking about Adam, talking about kind of like a Gurukul. These are my projects that I wanted to develop and things and that. Okay, yeah. You are creating something that does not exist. Okay, yeah. You are creating blueprint. Okay, you are creating blueprint, you are creating idea, you are creating that particular visual kind of like a things. Okay, yeah. In your head, that is level 5. Okay, yeah, that is a level 5. And level 6, I haven't really achieved that level 6. Level 6 means like that you are started implementing that. Okay, yeah. You have started implementing these things and that and that and that. Okay, also let me tell you one thing, do not associate this level with money. Okay, artifact does not kind of like somebody give you money. Okay, like I am at, probably I'm thinking that I'm level 5, but I am completely broke. I am not earning any money, I'm living with my parents, I'm pathetic. Yes. So basically existing artifact is not kind of like a give you money, nothing really at all. It will kind of like a give you money, it kind of like a change your personality, your behavior, your process of thinking, your thought process and things and that. Because the more you connect with yourself, more you understand yourself, more you aware of yourself, you understand why you born on this planet. Yeah, you literally you understand why you born on this planet. What exactly the god is kind of like a give you a kind of like some sort of things that like why are you born. Okay, like this is a kind of like a question, and you have started giving the answer at the level 5. You level 4 you cannot give the answer, level 2 3 you cannot give the answer. Only level 5 you kind of like started asking and understanding and kind of like understanding the world, understanding surrounding and things and that. Okay, there is also kind of like a changes that I'm seeing in the level 5. You are observing things. Okay, observing and imagination. Okay, observing and imagination. Okay, let me tell you one thing, what exactly is this thing. Okay, I'm not kind of like a try to tell you like a basically I'm really good at things and that, but this is what I seen from my pointer's perspective. Okay, yeah. So let's just say like this is a kind of like this is the kind of like a dish. Okay, this is the kind of like a satellite dish. Okay, yeah, which connects with the kind of like like a television satellite. Okay, Tata Sky. Okay, so basically is this, when I look at this thing, I observe that how it work. Okay, yeah. It required a kind of like a knowledge and information. Okay, yeah. You cannot observe thing without knowledge. At level 5 you are getting so much amount of knowledge. Okay, why? Because of that in the level 5 you are asked thousands of questions to yourself, and when you are asked thousands of questions yourself, you are started aware of understanding things. Okay, yeah. And when you started aware of understanding things at level 5 you are like basically observing things. You are seeing through, realize that ki, okay, this is a kind of like a dish, this is a kind of like a receiver, and this might gonna work like basically from this receiver there is a kind of like a some light is actually beam, probably maybe radio waves or things and that, and that radio waves are actually connected to the satellite, and that's why we are kind of like a streaming that kind of like a some television and things and that. Probably I don't really have any kind of like information regarding about how the fuck satellite is actually work, but regarding about the kind of like some whatever the kind of like information that I have consumed and things and that, I seen things. I seen the kind of like a radio wave. I've seen the kind of like somebody how the kind of like somebody that radio wave converted into the kind of like a digital signal and which transmitted into the set-top box, and that set-top box converted into the kind of like a somebody the digital pixel format images, so that we could supposed to see the kind of like a television things and that. Okay, I am seeing that thing at the level 5. Okay, yeah. Like there is a kind of like a solar panel. So how the solar panel actually working? The solar panel is kind of comes in the kind of like a radiation. That radiation converted into the kind of like there are so many kind of like silicons and kind of like a lot of kind of like a elements, carbon elements, silicon elements, and bunch of other kind of like elements are kind of like a gathered together. They are kind of like a somebody p type and n type are kind of like a somebody electrons are kind of like a flowing through that thing, and when it kind of like a flow, it kind of like a somebody movement actually happened, and when that movement actually happened, it kind of like a create that charge, and that charge is actually converted into the kind of like a battery, and it kind of like a create the electricity. And when this actually continuously happened, it kind of like a continuously kind of like a creating this kind of like a electricity by solar panel things and that. Still, okay, I don't really have any information regarding about how the solar panel work, but still, if I'm looking at thing, I am kind of like a consuming, I'm kind of like a somebody try to absorb the information that how it might gonna work. It's not probably 100% right, but this is kind of like a things. Okay, yeah, this is what kind of like somebody level 5. Okay, yeah, and you are started imagining things too. Okay, yeah, imagine things what. Okay, this is the bird. Okay, so how that bird is a kind of like a doing that backflip, like a, it's kind of like a really good. So this actually happen is because of that the bird is a kind of like a very light animal. Okay, yeah, even if there is a mass is too much, but there is a kind of like a, so much air is actually pump up because there is no muscle at all. Okay, yeah, bird does not kind of like have that much amount of muscle. Because of that, when it have a muscle, they cannot able to fly. So most of the birds are kind of like a very small in size, and they are very tiny in weight. Okay, probably maybe kind of like a 10, 15 or maybe 20 gram, or not more than 100 grams. Okay, yeah, that's why they are kind of like a flipping, and that also is this thing, there is a, because of their weight is kind of like a very less. So, and as also is this thing that most of the muscle mass is actually kind of like in their wings. Okay, yeah, the way that they flip their wings is not really impact on the kind of like assembly the impact on the kind of like assembly the maneuver in the air, but probably because of this thing they fly, and they could utilize the wind plus utilize their kind of like assembly the body shapes to kind of like assembly whenever they wanted to turn and things like that. They utilize their wingspan, and kind of like assembly if they wanted to turn left, they just do this thing, they turn left, they right, they want to do right, they just do this thing. These are kind of like a things. Okay, yeah, they have a nose to kind of like a bypass that kind of like some air and things like that. Also, birds cannot able to be kind of like a fly against the wind. Okay, yeah, if they wanted to fly, they just can't. Okay, why? Because there is a kind of like a very slow in weight, so they are always utilizing kind of like a wind. If they wanted to kind of like a go somewhere else, which is kind of like a against the flow, they might kind of like a fly from very kind of like a very close to the surface, because of this thing that the air resistance kind of like a getting very less. Okay, yeah, also is this thing bigger the size of the bird, kind of like a more can able to be that bird kind of like a fly higher, like a eagles and things and that. These are the birds that are kind of like a utilize their wingspan and kind of like a way to fly much more higher. Okay, but small birds cannot able to do this thing, because of that they are less in weight, and they are kind of like doing this thing, they are kind of like utilizing the less resistance to this thing. Okay, yeah, also is this thing bigger birds are kind of like meant to be fly much more longer length, but smaller birds not able to do this thing, because of that they just can't, they really required kind of like a hungry, they wanted to eat every single time, they just wants to be hungry, they are wanted to eat every single time. Okay, yeah, they are always hungry. Okay, yeah, so sorry, I was kind of like when I was in this thing, I'm just, yeah. So do you understand now? So basically this is a level 5. You are kind of like somebody aware of things. Okay, like this is a tree, how the photosynthesis is actually working. Like, okay, so this is kind of like a thing. This is kind of like a level 5. Level 5 is a kind of like a things. Level 6, I don't know, I am not really achieved that level 6. Probably is this in a level 6 is kind of like a things that you are started implementing, or started kind of like a somebody telling the what is exactly that you learn and kind of like to the people. But still is this thing now, I'm not really sure, I am not really sure about the how does kind of like a level 6 actually work. But this is a kind of like I reach at the level 5. Okay, yeah, so what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, I'm not kind of like a try to kind of like somebody tell you that I am really good, the information that I try to tell you is kind of like really legit. Definitely not. Every information that I try to tell you is completely broken pieces and things and that. I consume the information from the kind of like a practicality that I seen and things and that, and whatever the information that I collected throughout this year, I just try to tell you. It's a raw, it's unfiltered, that's why it's kind of like a unclear, that's why it's not properly fixed, but somewhat something that I have kind of like puzzle pieces that I try to attach. The puzzle pieces is not fixed, but still I just attach somewhat something, I kind of like a create and things like that is called level 5. Okay, yeah, so basically is this thing how much time it takes to kind of like a level 1 to level 5. Well, basically is this thing now, it really required that why. Okay, I am kind of like started understanding things why. Okay, yeah, every action really required that why you wanted to do this thing. A cricketer play cricket, why? A actor doing acting, why? I'm recording this artifact, why? This why is very much essential. You cannot exceed it, you cannot upgrade your level when you don't have that why. Okay, yeah, why is very much essential. For me, I wanted to filmmaker, and I really knew that I cannot able to do this thing. Because of that I give up so easily. I kind of like a somebody, like I am kind of like a very like a basically is this thing that I love my comfortness and I don't want to leave my comfortness and things like that. I always knew that I always face the resistance and things and that, and I always knew that I might gonna give up. I always knew that I am not really kind of like that particular person to kind of like somebody do a struggle for kind of like extreme level. So basically I started kind of like somebody recording myself to kind of like somebody understand that what kind of like a mistake that I did and how do I supposed to not to do that mistake again. Okay, yeah. So basically is this thing that I wanted to become something, so that's why I'm kind of like a recording artifact. So basically is this thing now, artifact is only work, only kind of like achieve your level when you have a goal. Okay, yeah. If you don't have a goal, you might not achieve that level, you might not achieve that level. Okay, yeah. This is kind of like a very much essential. Because of this thing now, ki like you are like, let's just say you are comfortable, you are doing 9 to 5 job, you are earning this much amount of money and that and that and that. Okay, yeah. So in your cases, artifact might not gonna work with you. Why? Because you don't really have that kind of like a things that why are you recording artifact. Like basically is this thing now, when you are like when you kind of like someone put you into the ocean and kind of like somebody stay alive. So when you kind of like put you into the ocean, there is only two choice that you have. You just have to survive or die. Okay, yeah. So basically you, if you die then die, but if you wanted to survive you have to swim, even if you don't know swim but you started swimming. Okay, yeah. So basically is this, what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, our human mind, our human evolution is actually kind of like somebody evolved in such a way when we are kind of like see the danger, we are started like when there is a question for surviving, we are kind of like try to survive so much. Okay, yeah. So we are starting swimming and things and that. There are so many kind of like some examples that people who don't know swim, but when they have a kind of like arrive at some certain situation that they have to be swim, they swim, and they didn't really swim for like 10-20 meters. No, they swim for kilometers. Literally they swim for kilometer for arrive the island, and they haven't really swim. Okay, we have so many examples for that. Okay, yeah. Like basically this thing, when we see the danger, we run faster, even if we are not really kind of like somebody run that much, but we are running faster, so faster that like basically at that time like our breath and our things is not kind of like hurting. Because of this thing now, when the question for survival, we are, our body, our mind are kind of like something accumulated all the energy and try to save our human host, this human body and things and that and that. This is what kind of like actually happen in kind of like our human mind and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. So this is what kind of like things, when you are struggling, when you are trying to achieve goals, when you are trying to things, when you have kind of like somebody hungry for something, artifact is kind of like a let you achieve that thing, let you achieve that thing. But if you already are comfortable, you already are kind of like a really good things and that, then it might not gonna work with you, because you don't really have that why. You are just, then probably what will gonna happen is that you are consuming artifact for criticizing people or correcting people or things and that, and I don't want that. Okay, yeah. I want that kind of like somebody is this thing that artifact should supposed to be add value to the people, and only it add value when you have a goal, when you have something to achieve. Okay, yeah. So that's what it is. So that's why my artifact, this application is for very niche kind of like a people. They are only for goal oriented people who are wanted to achieve things and that. Okay, yeah. They will utilize the artifact. But if the user are just kind of like settle in their life, they are comfortable and they just want anything at all. Okay, yeah. Okay, another thing, what if I'm recording artifact and in the future I achieve my goals, I achieve things and that, then after that will I able to continue artifact? Yes, I will. Because let me tell you one thing now, the because of one activity and because of this activity you added so much amount of value in your life, and after you add that value you still continue this activity. Why? Because of you are keep improving your stuff and things like that. Okay, yeah. So let's just say you are kind of like somebody is this thing that you like you didn't really kind of like somebody you achieve your goals is because of the artifact kind of like help you to kind of like connect with you and things and that and that and that. And after you achieve goal you still continue to record artifact, because our human minds are always wanted to grow, always wanted to, like basically our human mind are always wanted to consume the information, wanted to suck the information as much as it wants, and artifact are kind of like letting you do this thing. Okay, yeah. So this is what kind of like a thing actually happened. That's why this kind of like a multiple stages and things and that. Okay, yeah. So this is kind of like a multiple levels. Okay, yeah. And the silent user are the first layer of user. Okay, yeah, first layer of user. Okay, yeah. Tell me how much time it takes to arrive at level 5. There is no kind of like a kind of like a things that key, okay, like basically 1 year you might gonna arrive at level 1, then second year. No, it's not. It is like a basically is this thing you understand yourself. Okay, yeah. You understand, like basically is this thing now, no one will gonna tell you, you understand yourself. It's kind of like a things like a, even if I can't tell you that key when you will arrive at level 5 or level 4 or level 3, no. You just know that thing that inside of you. Okay, yeah. And yeah, this is kind of like a things, there is no kind of like a time for that. Okay, yeah. If you being consistent, obviously it will be kind of like a maybe within a decade you might gonna arrive at level 5. Someone might gonna arrive at level 5 very early. Okay, yeah. Is because of that key, like I am not that smart person. Okay, I'm really very fuck person. I'm not really that smart person. Okay, but some people are really smart, and the stuff that I'm thinking right now, the like basically it took me almost like a 10 year to arrive that stage. Because of that I'm not really that smart, but if the smart people are kind of like using this artifact, they arrive at level 5 very early. Okay, probably maybe kind of like a 7 year or maybe something even before that too. Okay, it's kind of like a things, but it does not depend on that smartness too. It depends on why. As I mentioned, the why, like basically is this thing why you are wanting to record artifact. If you clear with this why, then probably, yeah, time is very relative. Like probably is this thing na ki it depends on who you are, what you are, and kind of like a lot of factor actually responsible. Okay, yeah. And also do not consider as a kind of like a level 1, level 2 and level 3. Like basically do not consider that I am kind of like a level 5, so I am like pro and things and that is not pro. Even if there are kind of like so many kind of like so many good quality of people are actually exist, even if kind of like higher than that. So so basically it's not really comparison regarding about level 1, level 2. It just knows, you just knows that okay, like I have this understanding. Oh, okay. So yeah, the question is actually about the silent user, the first layer of user. Okay, yeah. The how do I supposed to make my application comfortable for first layer of user. Okay, yeah. So first layer of user, first level are people who will not gonna record artifact and they just consuming the artifact. Okay, yeah. So how do I supposed to make them kind of like a comfortable in my application? First of all is that in my application, is that whatever they are love to talk, love to kind of like a listen. Like basically if the particular person is actually wanted to understand someone's stories and things and that. Okay, yeah. They are deeply connected with that thing. Like there is a kind of like a one thing that I'm kind of like understanding. Love. Okay, yeah. Love. Pyar. Okay. This will definitely happen. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let me tell you one thing regarding about the demand and supply. Okay, yeah. So when you have supply less, demand is higher. When you have supply more, demand is lower. You understand this equation? In economics, this is kind of like a very common thing. Okay, yeah. Not only the economics, but our emotions is also kind of like somebody work on that way. Okay, yeah. When you have a supply less, demand is more. when you are supply more, demand is less. Okay, it work with emotions, same thing. Okay, now basically my platform is an audio based platform. Okay, yeah, and because of its audio based platform, user will not like when you are kind of like listening someone artifact, you might not see that particular person, you don't know that particular person, nothing really at all. Okay, yeah, and it creates mystery, it create mystery. Okay, yeah, example, um I am, let's just say I am a kind of like a teenager and who is a kind of like a listening someone artifact. Okay, yeah. So this is a kind of like a particular girl who is kind of like a recording artifact, and she kind of like a mention that ki like a how exactly is this thing that ki first day of college how she experienced and things and that she kind of like a record the artifact regarding about how she actually happened. Okay, yeah. Let's just say I am that boy, I am listening her artifact and I fall, I fall in love with her, even if I don't know her, I don't know her name, I love with her voice and I love with her. How? Like a basically is this thing, love and attraction really require a kind of like a visual attributes, na? Why does I fall? Why does someone fall with that particular girl? That girl doesn't like I didn't really see it, doesn't know why are things. Mystery. Okay, because of that human mind are kind of like a somebody pursue information when there is very less in number or very kind of like a mystery in things. Like basically is this thing na, कि when someone tell you joke, you might not hear that much properly or you might not give that much attention while someone kind of like telling you joke, but someone telling a secret, your eyes are just like you are started wanting to listen. What exactly is this thing? What exactly that? Okay, yeah. And this is what kind of like some of the things actually happen. Okay, yeah. Because of this particular person is kind of like you don't really see. Okay, yeah. You don't know her name and things and that. But the way that she says and way that kind of like things, you are love with her voice and you connect with her, you resonate with her, that is called resonate. Okay, yeah, like I resonate with kind of like things. Okay, let me kind of like understanding, let's just say is this thing that he how much I resonate with another person, it depends upon that another person is on the same level. Okay, yeah. If another person is much more higher, we do not resonate because it's higher than our reach. Example, uh, let's take I am a boy who is a kind of like a somebody college going boy. Okay, yeah. Let's just say 11th standard. Okay, yeah. And this is a particular girl who is a kind of like a somebody going to the college, probably maybe 11 12th standard, and she is actually telling her experience regarding about how the first day of college and things and that. Okay, yeah, she kind of like telling her experience in artifact. Okay, yeah. This is a one girl. Second girl is a kind of like a somebody, let's just say a kind of like a somebody, a model. Okay, yeah, or not model but kind of like a things that na ki she's a kind of like a somebody very rich. Okay, yeah. So she kind of like a mention that he like a basically is this thing that he how was a like a, she kind of like experienced that he basically how was kind of like a modeling career, like she was actually talking about the modeling career and things and that. Okay, yeah. So this boy is connect with this girl who is kind of like a going to the college. This boy does not really resonate with this particular girl who is kind of like a going to the like talking about the modeling career and things and that. Why resonate? Okay, yeah, like basically is this thing, is this particular girl resonate with this boy's thought process? Yes. He like she's going to the college, he's going to the college, she actually kind of like somebody learning physics and chemistry and she's not really good at, boys are also kind of like the same thing and that resonate. But modeling career is very out of reach, even if you wanted to listen, it cannot resonate. Okay, yeah, even if her voice is kind of like a really good, really great and things and that, but you can't resonate. So yeah, this is not. So basically that resonate factor is kind of like a somewhat something is that we connect with such a people who are like us. Okay, yeah, like our thought process are like us. So when there is a kind of like a lightness, we are kind of like a connect with that thing, and the more chances will gonna happen that this particular boy will kind of like a listen her every artifact will gonna listen. Why? Because the boy is actually falling with her. Now this is a kind of like one of the biggest problem, okay, yeah, is that key people are do something very stupid shit when they are falling in love. Obviously I'm giving the privacy, that girl will kind of like stay safe, she will not gonna know her name, like this user, this boy user does not really know her name. But there is a kind of like a things that this boy will try to find out that particular girl without art, like how that particular thing actually happened. Like this is kind of like a very scary, okay, yeah. Let me tell you one thing, my algorithm or my system is actually work to kind of like somebody not to tell her name and things and that, okay, yeah. But she mentioned that like she's from girls hostel, okay, yeah. Oh, like she's mentioned in her artifact she's from the girl college, okay, yeah, like all girl college. And basically is this thing that her kind of like a speech is little bit of Punjabi, okay, yeah, accent are little bit of Punjabi. This boy is actually from Maharashtra, okay, yeah. So basically is this thing that boy connect that this girl is kind of like a have Punjabi accent, okay, yeah. And that Punjabi accent, and she's actually from a all girls college. So that boy will try to search all girl college in Punjab. Probably there is a bunch of lists, but he's trying to figure it out who's that girl is that, okay, yeah. So basically this thing, because of this boy is kind of like a listening her artifact episode, every artifact episode, okay, yeah. So basically is this thing that now this boy will try to find out any kind of like a clues that where that particular girl came from. He just tried to do kind of like investigation, okay, this particular girl all girls college, okay, yeah. Now I have almost like a 12 college who is kind of like all girl college, then I don't know the city and things and that. So that curiosity, that mystery and things are actually available, and because of this thing that boy kind of like thinks I just wanted to know and things like that. Because when the teenagers, actual teenagers or boys are very like a really hot blooded animal. Okay, yeah, hot blooded, like they are very crazy savvy and things like that. They just wants to know her, okay, they just wants to know and things like that. And this situation is kind of like somebody is this thing very crazy for me. I don't have any solution for that. Like, I don't have any solution for that. Is it wrong? Well, the problem is that if that particular boy is kind of like somebody good intention, because falling in love is not wrong thing, it's a very right thing. But the problem is that you are stalking, the boy is actually stalking that particular girl. That is wrong, that is wrong. So I don't have any solution for that, and this is definitely happened, and I am not really sure how they're supposed to do this thing, okay, yeah. So yeah, it's been almost like a 42-minute, I have to be end, okay. So silent user, what exactly is this thing? For the silent user there are a bunch of feature, okay, yeah. First of all is that the silent user who just wanted to listen the artifact, okay, so kind of like give them such an artifact that he love to listen, okay, yeah. Also is this thing that particular person can kind of like create the playlist, okay, yeah. Also that particular user will kind of like somebody autoplay artifact. By the way, autoplay artifact is kind of like something for everybody, but still that particular person is kind of like a recording artifact and things and that, okay, yeah. And kind of like somebody is this thing that try to prevent that, like basically I am actually thinking the solution is that if this particular girl, if that particular boy is actually resonate with this particular girl, then try to showcase the multiple girl who's kind of like somebody have so much category on that thing, so that this particular boy will kind of like not to attacking only one girl, okay, yeah. Like basically he's attacking kind of like a diverse in multiple kind of like things and that, okay. Probably is this thing like stalking and things and that, okay, yeah. Also is this thing, if my system understands this particular boy is kind of like listening only her artifact episode, this might be a kind of like a create a problem. So kind of like give them such an artifact episode, just kind of like try to tell her that do not stalk people in other platform from the artifact and things and that, probably try to kind of like prevent the consequences before it happened. It might be okay, yeah. So this is kind of like things, and try to push him to record artifact, because when that particular person, like basically this thing, the amount of value that you get when you record the artifact, not listen to the artifact. Okay, so that is kind of like a things. Okay, I want my user to record artifact. Okay, yeah, but I'm not try to push them, but still the, yeah, there's it